Welcome back to the channel and another PixInsight reprocessing video. In this video I'm going to be reprocessing the Heart Nebula, a very popular object that I've also done several times before. My name is Morten and you are watching Frost Astrophotography, capturing interesting stellar phenomena and objects here with my miniature home observatory from 63 degrees north. For this reprocessing video, I'm really hoping to reveal a lot more details in the Heart Nebula, since the last processing was very black, I would say, when it comes to the background. And I do believe I have lost a lot of the faint details that are present in this object. So join me now in PixInsight and let's take a look at the Heart Nebula. It is time for another reprocessing, and this time a very familiar object, and that is the Heart Nebula. I have actually done several versions of this one. It has improved definitely over time. I've also added data, but for this reprocessing I haven't added any data since the last image that I'm going to compare it with. This data is 214 light frames and a total integration time of 17.8 hours. In order to make this a fair comparison, I am using the exact same stacked and drizzled master light frames for all three filters. So this data that I'm showing you now is not restacked or anything since my last processing. So we have the H alpha here, 106 light frames, the sulphur 2, 53 light frames, and the oxygen 3 is 55 light frames. All of them are 5-minute long. For these reprocessing videos, I sometimes show all filters. For this one, I'm not going to go through all filters for all of the steps, because that is a tedious, just opening and closing and comparing frames. I'm going to compare the H alpha here for some of the steps in the linear phase. Now we can see here that one of the first steps is a dynamic crop and a rotation of the image. And I've done that for both. But for the old one to the right here, I used dynamic background extraction. And for the new one to the left, I used the script automated dynamic background extraction. And I think the result is fairly good. We have kept a lot of the details that seems to be removed here in the image to the right. I can make sure by resetting the screen transfer function and verified that, yeah, I do have less details left. And that is of course not good. I want to keep as much of the details as possible. Moving forward in the linear phase here, make sure that you enable the 24-bit lookup tables. And if you don't want to click this every single time you open a light frame, you can go into the Edit menu and select Global Preferences and scroll down to Miscellaneous Image Windows Settings. And then you have a little checkbox for Use 24-bit Screen Transfer Function, Lookup Tables by default, and make sure that you enable this. And then you are good to go, because then it will use this setting for every time you're using the screen transfer function, and that is very good. Now, I've run through the dynamic crop, automated dynamic background extraction, blur exterminator, and noise exterminator, and that is the AI version 3 on the left and the old AI version for both blur exterminator and noise exterminator here on the right. And I will just choose a random area to zoom in on here and inspect, and visually maybe not a huge difference here just in this area. We can take another area here that is a combination of a brighter area and a faint gas area. And here we're starting to see a big difference in the actual details that I have saved here, both here in this region compared to the one here, and also inside the main nebulosity here. I have more details left. And keep in mind that this is only a screen transfer function. This is only a screen stretch so far. We haven't stretched it yet, but it looks good moving forward to the next step. Now both of these have been stretched. The old one was stretched with just the histogram transformation tool. That was my choice earlier. I've also set the black point very close to the histogram, so it seems. And on the right here, I've stretched it using the statistical stretch together with the IHDR script. And you can see that the difference here is massive. Not only the areas with details, if we're zooming in here and look at how much we are revealing, but if we are taking the same area as we inspected before here, you can see that, oh, here we have a lot of data that is faint that I want to keep here. I want to keep all of this in the image, and here it's basically clipped or removed. And I definitely don't want that in my images anymore. I was very into a blacker or blackish background when I started in this hobby, and now I'm more into revealing as many details as I can. So keep in mind, this is exactly the same data. It has only been processed in two different ways here, so there's no difference in input whatsoever. Moving into the home stretch for the both images here, we are in the non-linear phase. I have integrated the images here, and you can see that on the right it has been integrated SHO, and it has integrated exactly the same way on the left, although you can see that we have a completely different color palette, or we have the same color palette, but we have a completely different result. And that's just because we have stretched the images separately and in a different way, I would say. So the blend has been different. There's a lot more green here, although we have some green in the image here also, but definitely not as much as on the left. So for both images, we did the SCNR, removing the green and magenta, and now we are starting to have the same types of colors here, only they differ a bit because you have a lot more details on the left compared to on the right here. I started off with some initial color adjustments. I usually start off with making color masks for cyan and yellow, and that helps me to manipulate the blue and red using curves transformation. And those color masks can help or not help. Sometimes I use them, sometimes I don't. In this case, I did. And I boosted the blue a little bit inside here, and I boosted the yellow and red a little bit outside here. But since we have a lot more details in this, it looks more like pastel colors, a little less saturated than on the right. But I think that is a good thing moving forward. I ran through some sharpening. Let me see if we can see any difference here. Well, maybe not a great difference in this case, although we have more details visible in the left one. Some extra denoising. Don't know if that also is visible. I think the result is about the same. I usually run through TGV denoise for the non-stellar objects in the nonlinear phase. And here I have created a synthetic luminance and enhanced the dark structures in the image. And this, of course, adds a completely different dimension of details with the difference in contrast. You can see this is just a big black blur of things. Even though you can see details, you can't see the details exactly in the same way that you can do on the left here. Maybe this has been stretched a little bit too much, but I don't think so. I really like this area with all of the details that you can see now in compared to in the other image. I think this is progression. Let me know in the comments if you think differently. And as a final step for both, I did some final color corrections here, boosting the blue even more, I would say. Even though it is not as blue as it is in this image, of course. We have the center here we can also take a look at. A lot more orangey yellow here, of course, than it is in this blend. Looking at the stars first, I think I was starting to have the same philosophy as I have today now when it comes to stars. I want to have smaller stars, but in the case to the right here, they have been stretched and then reduced. And with the stars to the left here now, they have been stretched to this size and not reduced anything after that. I've also made synthetic RGB stars here to the left and color calibrated them with the Gaia database that is available. And on the right, it is just simple SHO combined stars. The synthetic RGB stars is my go-to choice right now, because I almost never bother to take real RGB stars. So, looking at the final result here then, I have integrated the stars back into the image here, keeping it fairly bright, I would say. I haven't adjusted in the black point so much. I haven't removed any of these very faint details in the left of the image here. The synthetic luminance part of my processing is also a big improvement, adding a lot more contrast to the detail areas in the image here. And you may like it, you may not like it. I think it's great to see some more details here on the dust clouds. These really stand out, and they are not O3 data here, but they are very much lost, I would say, in the image to the right here, and which they are not in the image to the left. And this little area down here we also talked about earlier, you can really see the details and appreciate the splendor of this object. So let me know in the comments, what do you think? Do you prefer the old black version where you lose a lot of the data, especially in the nebulosity here? Or do you prefer the new method of processing that will keep most of this data, make it visible, although you don't have maybe the same bright colors? If you want to know exactly how you do an image like this step by step, I have a 3-hour astrophotography processing guide for SHO, that is narrowband data, and that will take you through all of the steps that I have explained and more in detail. I will leave a link to that in the description of this video, so you can check it out if you want to watch 1 or 2 or more of these steps in peace and quiet. If you're missing something else, please let me know in the comments or send me an email, and I will try to answer as best of my abilities. Thank you so much for watching this reprocessing, and I will see you with some processing videos very shortly. Thank you so much for watching this video, and if you like it, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing if you're not already doing so. If you want to support the work with these videos, there is an option listed in the video description that you can use. And until the next video, I wish you have clear skies.